That's what the system seeks to do, is to divide us. My only mission, my goal, is to have humanity survive and thrive and to have a future. And I want everyone, race, color, creed, religion, to do that. But the globalists are masters at playing us off against each other, and masters through multiculturalism to actually turn everyone against each other in the name of that, and to try to force populations in together to play them off against each other. That's what's happening. And now the West has overthrown Iran over and over again. It's steaming towards war again. David Icke, is there going to be an Iran war? What do you see happening in the future? Where is this going? Gas prices, open announcements of world government. I mean, I thought we were crazies. But, mega banks will run Europe and the U.S. and issue the global SDR. It's all happening. Carbon taxes, Agenda 21, shutting down rural areas, arresting Amish everywhere, arresting people selling tomatoes on the side of the road. I mean, police running around with crazed eyes, military checkpoints now everywhere, TSA on highways. I mean, it is really starting to move quick, David Icke. What's happening?
Well, it is. And, you know, I've been saying for a long, long time that this is not just happening in the realms of the reality that we experience. It's coming from somewhere much deeper. And you cannot orchestrate. You've just articulated a long list of things, Alex, and they are a long list of things within an enormous, vast list of things that are happening, and they dovetail with each other. This is being orchestrated not by people sitting around the tables deciding the next move, but from very, very deep beyond this reality, I would suggest, and it's playing out here. A simple thing, and I've noticed this, and I'm sure other people have too, who've researched this. When something happens, there's never one reason for it. There might be a prime reason, but there's never just one reason. And what you've got now is and I've talked about it in this new book, funnily enough, which of course was written, finished some months ago, that on one side they want this war with Iran, and they are creating mayhem and devastation in the Middle East. But on the other hand, of course, that's bound to have a massive impact, and we've seen nothing yet, I would suggest, on oil prices, which then devastates the world economy. So it's like everything connects to everything else. Nothing's working in isolation. And as I've been saying for years, the time's going to come, we're here, when they are going to throw absolutely everything at us, so that we, in a panic, in despair, just say, right, do something, whatever. They're
lining up a whole bunch of agendas that build towards that interlocking nexus at the top, and they only do things if it adds another Lego or another domino or another stack in the pyramid to their whole agenda. You can see it like fractal nanotech.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I agree. That's what all the religions say. That's what common sense says. We're in the middle of space, and that's what you're saying. People get blown away by. But what are Christians saying? There is an alien or dark force. That's what my gut says. This is beyond human intelligence. This is a master evil.
Well, what's interesting, you know, when you research this is whether it's religions or whether it's ancient cultures or whatever, if you just take a step back from the different names and the different ways of describing it, there is an unbelievable common theme. The Sumerian tablets found in what is now Iraq talk about a non-human force they call that has become known as the Anunnaki, those who from heaven to earth came. In the Islamic religion, they have the phenomenon of the jinn, that are entities that operate outside of human sight, manipulate humanity without being seen, and manipulate human perception of reality through the human mind. You then have the...
Yeah, they play tricks on you. You ask for a ton of gold, but you better ask for it 10 feet in front of you. They're going to drop it on your head.
And then you have the demon theme within the Christian religion and what have you. And then you have the Gnostics, which is a word I understand means knowledge. These were the Cathars who were slaughtered slaughtered. These were the people that ran the Great Library of Alexandria who were slaughtered, and so were their writings destroyed. But in 1945 in Egypt, a great mass of them were found, which gave the Gnostic view of what's happening in the world. And 1/5, something like 1/5 of the texts are about entities they call archons, which are manipulating human society and manipulating it through the human mind, exactly what the Islamic religion says. And then you go to South Africa and the Zulu culture, where they talk about the Chitahuri.
Well, look at Jewish mysticism and all of that, and King Solomon and the genies and all that.
Yeah. Alex, it's all in front of us if only we would stop dividing and compartmentalizing these things by the different names and the different name given to the belief system.
Okay, so I mean, this is pretty far out because I normally cover just political stuff we can prove, but obviously we can cover this for any audience because the elite at Bohemian Grove, Skull and Bones, they are obsessed with it. I've talked to people on record and off record, rich widows of very famous people, where their husbands were worshiping the owl idols, the goat idols. They really believe in this. I've been to Bohemian Grove. They are getting off on it. So even if you don't believe in this, atheist people out there, the elite are obsessed with this. None of them are non-religious, and they believe they're getting power from these entities. So from your research, what do the entities want?
This is the point, Alex, that you were talking about earlier in terms of Jewish people and the Zionist elite and all the rest of it. The elites that control the governments around the world are not following Judaism or Christianity,
Babylonian mysticism.
They're following what we call Satanism. And Satanism, if you really study it, is the worship of these entities under endless names that were perceived to be the gods. This is why the Mayans worshipped a serpent god called Kukulkan. This is why in Central America other cultures worshipped the feathered serpent god called Quetzalcoatl. All over you see this recurring theme. They are Satanists. And what's happening at satanic rituals while they're doing the sacrifice is the entities operating outside the very narrow frequency band of human sight called visible light by scientists. They're feeding off the energy of terror that's coming off the victim. And so a war, pepper bombing Tripoli or Baghdad or a world war.
It's a feeding frenzy.
Oh, it's a feeding frenzy. It's unbelievable. What is it? It's bloodlust. You see, you mentioned earlier, Alex, that, these people have a bloodlust. Well, it's not even, as we know, it's not even theoretical or symbolic bloodlust. It's a real one. They drink the stuff.
That's the old term, bloodthirsty.
Yes, exactly that. And so we have a blood.
So you're talking about interdimensional vampires, basically, which we see them bombarding us with vampiric iconography. What is that? No pun intended.
This comes. This is where vampires come from. In Zulu lore and in other native cultures,
the ancient Greeks believed in it. They had vampire hunting deals.
Yes, they say that cannibalism was introduced to human society by these entities because they are cannibals and they eat human flesh and drink human blood, as do their hybrid representatives that we call the elite bloodlines and the aristocracy and the royal families and those that control the banks and all the governments and all the rest of it. So this whole human sacrifice, cannibalistic phenomenon came with these entities. And therefore, for a long time, when humans were, shall we say, less evolved than they are now, at least large numbers of them are now, they could openly do their sacrifices to the gods. And by the way, when they talked about the sacrificing young virgins to the gods, that was code for children. This is why so many children go missing and end up being sacrificed to the gods. But there came a point where humanity had grown up to the point where it was no longer acceptable to do this stuff openly.
So now they do it as wars. But what about Ezekiel? The whole Bible says, give not your children to the fires of Moloch. I mean, it says children being sacrificed right there.
Well, yeah. I mean, what I'm saying is that people have no problem, Alex, that there was human sacrifice and child sacrifice in the ancient world, right? No problem. What I'm saying is it never ended. It just went underground because humanity reached the point where it wouldn't have it anymore. And it's happening on an unbelievable scale. I cannot tell you. The number of children that go missing in the world every year, never to be seen again, is utterly shocking beyond belief, because these entities want the energy of children before puberty, because at puberty we see puberty as a hormonal chemical change, but what it is to these entities is the human energy field of the children changes, and it plays through as hormonal change at the chemical level, but it starts and is fundamentally driven by an energetic change. They want the child's energy before that change takes place, and that's why they're obsessed with children, and that's why there's so many missing children. What's going on in the world, even to most conspiracy researchers, who brilliantly, and good luck to them, are doing the banking, the wars, the manipulated wars, the manipulated terrorist attacks. Even to many of them, they won't go here. But this is what's happening.
Let me add a caveat to that, David. I'm sure you know about this, but it turns out DynCorp, who's been in congressional hearings running giant child kidnapping rings. I mean, even the UN said in a 2-year period in Southern Europe, 1.2 million women and children went missing. I mean, this is like factory level, Armageddon, Holocaust, extermination level, disappearing into all these labyrinths to feed this, the snuff films, all of it. But then I learned, people said, you didn't know? It was actually what Catherine Austin Fitts about 5 years ago pointed out, and I went and search engined it, and it was true that DynCorp runs the private CPS. On average, they've got more than half the contracts in the country at the health departments, and they're DynCorp people. And that it even came out on CNN a few years after that, that in Florida alone, there was like 3,500 missing kids they'd taken. They were finding them dead in other countries and stuff, but it got shut down. They are actually operating, the CPS in many cases is actually a foreign kidnapping ring operation. I mean, it's so off the charts evil right there. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Alex, that's just an interesting point, because in this new book, Remember Who You Are, in the last one, Human Race, Get Off Your Knees, I address this very subject in considerable detail, because I've had a lot of experience of it in this country and in America. When I say experience, I mean I've interacted and been with people who've had their children taken away and stuff like that. And as a result of that, I realized just how this child protection services scam is not there to protect children. It's the last thing they want to do. There are some genuine
It's come out that they've got list of certain kids they're looking for. If you've got a black-haired, blue-eyed girl, that's their favorite, or green-eyed, then it goes into blonde, blue-eyed. I mean, they are hunting.
See, this is what I've gone into in detail in these books, because they are seeking to have an endless flow of children for what they want and what they do with them. and what better way than to control child protection services? Now, what's happened in Britain, and I know it's happened in America, so I've researched all that, is that the number of children being taken, not just from families per se, but from blatantly loving families and caring families, is going off the Richter scale. Tony Blair, who's big time involved in all this and absolutely agrees with it, when he was Prime Minister of Britain, introduced, believe it or not, financial incentives to councils to meet targets for taking children away from their
No, it's global standardization.
Parents.
Bill Clinton started that, where they have to increase the quota each year or get none of the federal money. I mean, these are, and of course, he's an admitted occultist. His wife's a witch, and they are when you see Tony Blair, folks, it is a literal vampire. The teeth don't, do all that. It's a demonic goblin.
Now, just let's look at this. You are giving financial incentives to these organizations to meet.
You pay so they can steal your kids and gang rape them before they cut their heads off and do all the things to them.
any sane society that cared about the children and cared about justice would never have any incentive to take children away from their parents, because every single case would have to be judged on the merits of the case.
Well, the CPS worldwide is 5 times more likely, it's the same in England, to abuse children than any other group. It's admitted that they are a black hole of child abuse and devilry. Oh,
yes, they are, and it happens in every country. Now, we come back to this global web I talked about earlier. This global web not only controls the banking system and the transnational corporations and the governments and the media at ownership and the mainstream level, it also controls, via these corporations and in Britain via the British government network, these child protection services. It controls the police that's supposed to investigate the abuse of children and allegations by children about abuse by famous people, but they don't. They don't because that's controlled too. They control the courts, which take the children away against all the evidence. This is what's happening. This network, this global corporation of bloodlines and societies, controls all these different elements of society. So we're not looking at individual isolated dots like the courts and the CPS and all the rest of it. We're looking at a network.
Let me tell you, I've been to these CPS courts watching it, and I've seen it across the nation on YouTube, the court hearings. It's 90% of the time a weird jackboot, butch-haired woman screaming at families and literally licking their lips. I mean, you're looking, if you saw the woman on the street, you'd say that is some kind of pervert demon. And they are giant pervert demons openly, like an octopus just grabbing kids. I mean, it's just, it's like the witch from The Little Mermaid. I mean, these judges that take the kids, 90% of them or more, every time I see them, they look like the witch from The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, well, we've had people in this country, after they've won in a court to take children away from loving families, we've had them high-fiving in the court. This is what we're dealing with. No empathy.
No. The vampires know, man, it's going to be gang raping tonight. They're going to have that kid crying, squealing, and they're going to be lucky if they live. The devils are going to have some fun. We'll be right back. Folks, have you lost your power and wanted to simply flip a switch to get the lights back on? If so, this is going to be the most important message you'll ever hear, because there's never been a better time to get ready for the winter power outages ahead. Here's why. Solar-powered generators are now available from our friends at Solutions from Science, one of our oldest sponsors. Their emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. Unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running quietly in your own home. Whether it's ice storms, brownouts, or blackouts, you'll never have to suffer through painful power outages again. When the power goes out this winter, you'll be ready with a solar-powered generator from Solutions from Science. Go to mysolarbackup.com for more information. That's mysolarbackup.com or call 877-327-0365.
Would it save you time to get the best quality water filters and the best quality storable foods from one company? You bet it would, and now you can at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. Big Berkey water filter products and great tasting, long-lasting, storable Wise foods are both now available on one website, BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. Wise foods, ready-to-eat meals are packed in airtight nitrogen pouches and come with a 25-year shelf life. Big Berkey water filters are powerful enough to purify treated, untreated, or even stagnant pond water. Combine Berkey water filters with Wise foods for an unbeatable preparedness combination. Get free shipping on every order over $50, and GCN listeners receive 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Visit BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com or call 877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY, or go to BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com.
2012 is finally here, and while the government racks up another $1 trillion in debt, the IRS is hard at work collecting. In fact, they're even sending agents to some people's homes in place of business. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns, or are receiving threatening letters or phone calls, call the tax division of the law offices of Craig Zimmerman at 800-652-6978. Our tax division is spearheaded by a former IRS agent with over 31 years experience. He knows the ins and outs of the IRS and how to get them off your back once and for all. The phone call is free, and so is the consultation. So call now. 800-652-6978. That's 800-652-6978. Don't wait for agents to knock on your door. Call 800-652-6978 or visit us on the web at www.craigzlaw.com. You'll be glad you did.
All right, David will be with us 5 minutes in the next hour. Then Bruce Fine, Ron Paul's chief advisor, policy advisor, will be joining us to talk about what's happening in our world for a full hour. By the way, is he joining us via Skype? Because I know he was on the Nightly News a while back on Skype. Wow, that's going to be great for video Skype, not just for radio listeners, but for people watching at prisonplanet.tv. It's great to have David via audio Skype. He's like he's in the room with us. Wanted to tell you, David's going to be speaking at 2 events in Hawaii this month, in Honolulu, and an all-day on March 24th, and Maui all day on March 31st. He has a new book out called Remember Who You Are, DavidIcke.com, and I should add, again, I remember 15, 16 years ago seeing David Icke stuff and thinking, man, this is crazy. But over the years, the way he politely just took some mean comments I'd said about him, like a gentleman, and then the fact that listening to him and talking to him, I just have a good feeling. I've learned to go off my instincts. I just get a good feeling when I listen to him or when I talk to him. And I don't 100% go off my discernment, but I just do. And I hope everything he's saying isn't true because it's so crazy. But regardless, a lot of it's been turned out to be true. And we just need to realize we're in a spiritual world. There's a lot going on we don't see, and the elites are obsessed with it, and they're in control. So why are they obsessed with it? They always want to tell us, oh, be atheists, nothing's going on. That's because they want you basically blind to what's going on. Also, if you want to support us, well, it's not even supporting us. We've got 100 business cards with Infowars.com on them that are got You Are the Resistance on them, and a Citizen Rule Book and 2 bumper stickers for 1 penny. All you pay is the $4.95 for shipping, and that really is at cost. And we're getting like 500 orders for these a day, which is going to be really successful, but I don't know if the guys can handle it. So I may discontinue this special and boost the price just to get less orders, because then I'll lose money about to hire extra people. I'm happy to do it at cost, but I can't lose money. We've got a bunch of great deals on books and videos and films exposing Oklahoma City as an inside job. It's all available at Infowars.com. So I hope that you will go there and support us if you believe in the message we're putting out and want to support free speech in this country. Going back to David, only 3 or 4 minutes left in this segment, 5 minutes in the next. David, it's very painful to me to know that they are obsessed with hurting children. They are doing it. I've seen it. What you described, the high-fiving, all the abuse that comes out, but they enforce on themselves. But humanity has backed them off before and at least made it go underground. They're trying to sell us on torture, secret arrest now. They're trying to turn our political and spiritual atmosphere into what they are. How does all this end in your mind?
Well, I was talking 22 years ago, from the very start of my conscious awareness of any of this stuff, about the fact that there was a vibrational change coming. I dubbed them the truth vibrations because I understood that they would have the effect of bringing to the surface all that had been hidden from humanity. Now, 22 years ago, there was no sign of that. But look at it now. I mean, the very fact that what we're doing now, it's talking about this stuff. What we know now about what's happening in the world and what's going on in the background and how it's controlled is off the Richter scale compared with what we knew 22 years ago, even 10 years ago, much of it, and what have you. And the other thing that I was told would happen is that this vibrational change, this quickening of the vibrational fabric of this reality would have the effect of acting like a spiritual alarm clock, and people would start to wake up from their slumber, their coma, their amnesic state, and they would start to, this is the title of the book, this is where it comes from, they would start to remember who they really were. Not the body, but consciousness, infinite consciousness with infinite potential, having an experience through the vehicle of the body. And clearly, when I look back 22 years, I look back 10 years, even 5 years, the numbers of people now who are awakening to another view of themselves and the world is absolutely phenomenal.
Back in 60 seconds. Stay there. Finish up on this. Back in 60 with David Icke.
You are listening to GCN.